Alright guys, so welcome to a brand new video. Today's video is something that's actually been highly requested. Now if you do follow me on Twitter, you will see that I do a ton of character drawings. And so a lot of them are of other YouTubers, and there's been a ton of feedback on them, and so it's just been requested, how do you do it? That's what I get asked. So I figured the best way to do this is to show you guys in a video the way that I do. Actually, it's not the exact way that I do the characters because I do sketch out ideas and stuff like that. I'm going to show you the easiest way if you want to do it. What's the best way to do it? Just by doing it off of a photo. So the one thing that I use is Photoshop, and I do not use a pen, anything like that. I just use the mouse and the keyboard in Photoshop. That is all. So we're gonna do today's on the YouTuber Gassy Mexican, which if you've never watched him, the guy's a genius. He has this incredible voice. And so what you want to do first is you want to find a photo. Now here in Google are a ton of different photos of Max to choose from. So I'm gonna go with the one down here, this one right here, that has the green screen behind it. I like to choose photos that kind of show character. So it's kind of like creating a caricature of the person themselves, and I thought this one kind of best showed his features, so we're going to use that. So what we're going to do, and I use Photoshop CS6. This is the photo we're going to use. So I've already opened it up in Photoshop, but what I do is I go over here to File, I start a new one, and I always do the paper so that it goes to inches. But since this one will be more up and down than left and right, we're going to make the width 4 inches and the height 6 inches. Now always keep the resolution at 300 because it keeps a high quality image just in case you want to print it or use it for other things later. You kind of have that to do it. So what we're going to do now is click back over to the picture. You click the move icon and you bring it over to the part you're going to be working on. Now once you place it here, you can actually hold shift, click on the corner, and stretch it out. Just keep holding shift and it'll keep it proportioned to what you're working on. And so this is a pretty good size, I think, to work on. So we're gonna go with this size right here. The most important thing, if you look over here, are your layers. Everything you want to work on, you want to keep a layer so that if you mess up on something, it's fine, it's underneath something else or whatever. It's easier to fix this way. So as you can see, we have the background layer, which is blank, the layer that has the photo of him, and you click down here next to the little trash can, starts a new layer above him. So now you're working on a whole other thing on top of the photo itself. What I want to do though is click back on the photo of him, and if you go up top and you hit select color range, now this isn't going to, obviously most photos that you guys work on are not going to have a green screen behind it. So all I'm doing now is I'm just selecting the green screen part of the photo, and this is just to kind of clean it up some, and it gives me a better space to work on. So right now you can see it's the green that's selected, and I'm clicking on the eraser because I want to get rid of as much green as I can so that it's just showing me the space that I am working on. Pretty simple, nothing to that at all. So now you can see we have a cutout of Max, or Gassy Mexican, and it gives us something to go on. So what I want to do is I do want to zoom in. We're going to start, I think we'll start with the face. And so, but you can see over here it still shows the layer selected, that's the photo, and you do not want to work on that section. So right above it, we're going to click on it and start on the layer all by itself. Now what you want to do is you want to change your color to black, because basically what you're doing is it's like a sketch. You're doing an outline of what the character you're going to be working on. So we pick black, go over to brush, and I usually I leave the hardness at 100% so that it's a straight clean line. But I'm moving the size down to, we'll see what 5 looks like. I usually either start with 5 or 4, but again, it just kind of depends. Now, This is the biggest thing. If you're not familiar with the pen tool, this isn't going to make any sense to you. I will try to explain it the best that I can, but again, the pen tool is really tricky. But you can see you pick a starting point that you want to start on, and I'm going to select right here at the top of his head, and I want it to curve down to here. As you can see, it did a straight line. What you want to do is you want to pick a point in between that. Now you can see this dot, and what you want to do is you want to hold control, and what that does is allow you to push to form the way that you want it to form. And as you can see, now it goes here, and the last spot you selected is still here, and so that is still there. It did not go away just from that alone. If you want to go back, like in the middle of here, I can see his hair kind of pushes in some here. I'm going to pull it back. His cheek is kind of rounded there. I'm going to pull it to there, just to, it's, you know, I'm not looking for it to be completely perfect. So what I'm doing now is just kind of forming what I think the outline of his face would be. And if you pull it down here, it's kind of rounded, and it doesn't feel this edge and it doesn't feel this edge. Now what you can do is you can take and just click in these areas and pull down. You can move these things back to kind of form it. What you want to do is form this perfect, or at least as close outline. Now the thing you do want to realize is you're working on a character. You don't necessarily have to be precise if you don't want to be. Now, you know, with the ones that I do, I like them to be kind of accurate, have somewhat of a lifelike look to them in the end. So right now you can see I've outlined it from this tip of his head kind of all the way down to here. Now again, you're on this layer, but you want to make this, you want to click on path, because now it's working on the path that you just created. Now what you do is you right click and you want to stroke the path, and what that's doing is it's taking the brush that you selected, which we selected a 5, and I'll see if that's too thick, and it's going to outline this path that you created with that brush and with that size. Okay, so as you can see, we just hit it, and you want to click out of the path because now you can see it has its outline. Now I want to make that go away to see kind of how thick it looks. And I think 5 is okay. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of outline some of the other features. And I may just speed through it because obviously this video would take forever if we sat here and went through each individual thing. And again, in the future, this is a test to see how well a video like this would do. And again, I had tons of questions, so it was kind of a no-brainer that this needed to be done. And I hope this is helpful to the ones that do want to know it. So as you can see, it's just filling in. You kind of see like a line here, and where you can give definition you want to. It's kind of important in a character. As you can see, the nostril's kind of big here and not so big over here, and I don't know, you know what, it is like that, so we may just want to keep it the way that it was, because I'm following the outline pretty precise. I'm pretty specific when I get into details because it's the most important thing in your drawing. Eyebrows, it's probably the trickiest thing. You don't want to, you know, try to worry about every little curve, because then it takes, at least to me, it takes away the overall character look of it. You just kind of want to do an outline of where their eyebrows are, and as you can see, it just leaves this black path around it. We'll kind of curve it in here, and again, you don't want to try and be exact, because then it's just, I don't know, you don't want that look. So right now we have this, and when I do eyes, this is the trick to eyes. You just outline the top part first. Especially like right now, we're doing the outline in a size 5 brush, so I want to keep that accurate to what we're doing. So we're going to keep this a 5 on the top, and what I do after I create the full eye is I go back and do the bottom part with a size small. So what that does is it keeps it from looking like he's got, you know, mascara on, but it still gives it definition to the eye itself. Now I know for some people this could be really boring, and I completely understand, but this is something that for some reason has been really requested, and you got to give the people what they want. As far as the mustache and the beards and stuff like that, I tend to just kind of do an outline, and I'll show you why once we get to that part. As you can see, it's just briefly kind of an outline. Right there. Yes, and here. He's known for his beard, so we got to keep the beard. You got to be, you know, you want to make sure you get the beard right. And as you can see, his, you know, the mouth. Oops. All right, the mouth itself, it's kind of got it to a point here, but you can see cuts back in here. You want, especially with somebody's mouth, their nose, they have specific features that if you don't get it right, it will completely mess up the whole thing, and then you kind of lose what the character is supposed to look like. As you can see, kind of get around the lips here, around the mouth, just enough that you can tell, hey, that's my mouth. And what I'm going to do here is zoom in, because with teeth, I don't go in and try to get every little line, just because it's one of those things I feel like the more detail that you have in it, the more that it's taking away from it being a character. As you got to think, cartoon characters don't have, you know, lifelike characteristics that, I mean, it just takes away from it being a character. So we're just doing just enough to outline right here. Oh, don't know what just happened. We need to bring that in and bring that up, and I think that's good enough just to show an outline of the teeth. And again, when you first start sketching some of this stuff out, like his beard kind of comes this way, but then it does the kind of goes inward a little bit, so we want to make sure we get that there. And then we want to take this, oops, not sure what just happened, there we go, take it in here, curve, and then go back up where it belongs. And then you've got what looks, and again, it won't look right until some of this is colored in, so you do have to kind of, you have to wait and see the final product. Mouths can be really tricky because if it's not done right, it just looks funny to me. For the most part, let's see. He's got his beard there, and oops, and we have the beard there. So I think it's a good start. And as you can see, when you take away, kind of have an outline of what his face looks like, kinda. So we want to go in here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the eyes because we have the skin part outlined. Well, no, we don't. We still need to do. We need to do the hair. And I think from here to here, to there some, to there, it's enough of an outline. I think that you kind of get the gist of where his hairline would be. So now we have a space that we could color in skin. But before actually doing that, let's do this here. We want to get to the eyes itself. Now this is what I was talking about earlier, that it's important you work on layers, and I don't want the eyeballs to be over the sketch, so we're going to go back to the layer of the picture itself and go a layer on top of that. Now I can see that his eyes are brown, looks like. Yep. For the most part, I think it's brown. So we're going to go with brown. And I'm just going to extend out the brush large enough to cover where his eyes would be. Which, as you can tell, it's about there. And about there. Okay, so as you can see, they're just completely white dots. I'm gonna do this, click on the little eyeball next to the layer because I want that to disappear. I want to work on a layer on top of this because he needs the black pupils. And it would be extremely hard to see with that layer of brown on top. So we're gonna click about where the pupils were. And as you guys can see, and this is really important to bring character to your pictures. Do where you think a light would reflect off their eyes, and be consistent. So like on this side, if you're going to do it in a spot, make sure you do it in the exact same spot on the other side. So now I'm going to click on the eyeball to bring back his eyes. And what I do with eyes is I double click on the layer so that you bring up the layer style. And what I like to do is an inner shadow. It's very simple. I pull the distance back, but ultimately what you're doing is you're giving kind of depth to his eye. You don't want a flat brown, or at least I don't. And then now you take the eraser, because you can see his eyes are kind of behind the eyelid here. Same thing right about there. Now what we want to do is we want to click back to layer 2, go back to the color black. This is important. Go back to your brush and go back to the size 5, or nope, we're doing the under his eyes, so we want to do the size 4. As I told you, we want to go one size smaller to do the under part of his eyes. So we want to take it here. His eye kind of goes up some here, but I think for the most part that one will that'll fill that in. And that's still, you know what, I don't like that, so we're gonna go to size 3. This is very important not to make the bottom thick, because it makes it look like they have makeup on. And that's the last thing, especially if you're doing a character artwork of a guy. You don't want it to look like he has makeup, unless it's a guy that actually does wear makeup. But so now we have this. Now we need the white in his eyes. So we want to do another layer. And again, if you want to, where they say layer, you can click on them, double click on them, and name them so that you know it's the eye, the brown part of his eye, or whatever. Label it in a way where you know what it is. I don't, just because generally once I move away from a layer, I can find it later. So right now, as you can see, we're working underneath everything. Underneath the sketch, underneath the eye, the pupil, and all that. And if you get anything outside of the black, I always go ahead and go back right then and erase it, because if I don't, I'll usually forget it until I notice later, like, crap, I left the spot. So we're going to go in. There you go, and just kind of fill it in. You do want to fill in behind it, and I'll show you why. The same effect we did with the eyeball itself, putting the shadow in, I do it on the white as well. And the reason I do that, see, now that's way too much. Bring it back some, bring the size down a little bit, and there you go. You can kind of see now you have character eyes. Take it away, then it looks like you have real eyes that are just sitting right there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the skin. Now usually what I try to do is you click down here on the top, because the top color is always the one that you're mainly working on, and then I click in his face, and it gives me kind of a light peachish color, and I keep clicking until I get the lighter. You don't want to go too yellow over here, but then you get a color that you're comfortable with. And I'll again explain why that's important, because you still end up adding a shadow, and you end up adding some other marks. Now what you do want to do is color in every single part already and go ahead and fill it all in. Because when you do the shadow thing, if you do not have it filled in, where you stop, it'll cause a new shadow, and it never ever looks right. It just doesn't on the photo. So we just want to go ahead and fill all that in as much as we can. And we're gonna go back, and now like I never outlined his neck. I realize that now, so we need to do that so that we know what we're working with, like where we need to cut off. Hold on, back to this, go back to a 5. All right. Alright, so as you can see, now we have an outline of his face. And it looks kind of weird because the beard is just an outline right now, but what we want to do is double click and we want to add shadow. You want it to look as real as possible, so you bring distance in some, but you want the size to spread out. And what that's doing is it's kind of taking it and spreading it a lot more than just leaving it as a straight shadow, which ultimately would look a little weird. I don't honestly know about the colors. You can hit color overlay and change it. Wow. It's Blackie Mexican. Let's see. Not really sure yet. We're gonna take that color overlay off because we don't know yet. And I do like to take this burn tool because it adds, as you can see, some realism in the color. You can see, click back out to see where some of the lines are. Like in this case, some of it was around, it's a little strong. Let's take that back some. Some of it was around his eyes, right in here. We'll leave that alone, actually, for right now, until we get a better understanding or a better outline of where everything's gonna be. So now let's go to the beard. As you can see, I don't, even though it is black, I don't like to use straight black because it ultimately is going to take away from your outline. So we're gonna make another layer on top of this and just color in, nope, that's not coloring, color in here. Alright, so as you can see, just erasing some of the beard around it just to kind of clean it up. Oops, cleaned it up too much there. Alright, so now you can see kind of how it's coming along, and so far there's his face. We still have a lot to do, so we'll pick this up right now. Alright guys, so we are back working on the Max caricature that we started on yesterday, and actually all this is going to be one video, so I don't know why I'm telling you that we're back when technically you're still watching the same video. But now we are going to work on the hair and the headphones and all that, and bring in more details so that now we will pretty much be complete. You know what we'll go ahead and do is do the clothes, the shirt, since we're down here. And I will speed a lot of this up because a lot of this is just going to be kind of, you know, repetition of the same things over and over again. But it is important to learn how to do curves and stuff in Photoshop because otherwise it's going to make this really, really difficult. And as far as, we're going to go ahead and color the shirt. I'm going to add that layer on top. Everything that I'm working on, as you can see, is on top of the actual layer of the photo, but I'm making new layers. We're going to go with the paintbrush, click the color tool, and just, okay, so it kind of picks this color. What I want to do is just bring in the whole thing. Let's go ahead and do that right there. It's kind of like tracing in a way, but it still takes a lot of talent to do that, because you're still having to clean and get the colors right. You see, we need to go ahead and add a shadow in on the clothes right there, right there. We're gonna come back to it because I do want to add some more definition into the clothes itself. You see, take this away. This is what it looks like so far, and I have to say, so far it's coming along pretty good. I think for the most part you would be able to tell if you know who this is. You would be able to tell who it is just by looking at it, because ultimately, you know, what's creating a character if nobody can tell who the person it is you're trying to draw? Kind of defeats the whole purpose. As you can see, just coloring in the teeth. I don't, now one thing I've realized with lips, I don't always go into complete detail with trying to color lips, because I've found that every time I do that, it looks like I'm putting lipstick on them, and I can't ever seem to get it like just right. I need to pull that back. You can see his tongue's right in there, but he still has more teeth, so I didn't finish the teeth. We'll come in here, get him a little bit of teeth down here just for us to have a guideline. Alright, as you can see, I went ahead and did the tongue underneath. As you can see here, when you add shadow, it just gives you that right amount of depth in the photo, because now you have something that kind of looks real. The teeth, I don't necessarily want to add that much. Let's see, I might have to add some shadow. See, not that much, because you obviously don't want him to have gray teeth. I'll soften that up some. I think that's pretty good right there. So as you can see, so far we do have, you know, a clean look. It looks like a character. Now we need to go and do the hair, the headphones. I probably will speed this process up, because all this is just kind of the same thing, outlining the basically doing a sketch outline. What we're doing here, I know we're kind of hopping on top of the other ones we've already sketched out. The beauty of this is you can go back and erase. Like right now, let's take it off. I'll show you. We're not going to want his shirt going through the look of the headphones. So we can go in and kind of delete that out there. And then, there you go. I want to zoom it out some because I do want to draw the outline of the headphone cable. So we're going to pull that in here just to give it more of a look there. We're going to do that, I think, here to here is where we're going. Now you want to keep the cord similar so that it actually looks like it's following a similar path. I think for the most part that, oops, again I always forget to do that. As you can see, now we've got a path through here, and we'll fix this once we start working on the shirt again. Let's bring his shirt, bring all that back. So we have one side of the headphones done. Alright, so now we have the outline of the headphones and the hair. I'm going to go back down to the layer where I was doing the beard, which is here, because I'm going to take that same color and color in the hair. I think we're going to end up changing these to brown, more of a brown color instead of this dark-ish color. Simply because when I do the color in the headphones, they're going to be a color very, very similar to this, and you definitely want some separation. Plus, this hair kind of looks gray, and he does not have gray hair. Look at that! Check out the red hair. Let's see. Let's pick. You know what? Hold on. We need to. It doesn't matter. We still need to go ahead and trim out the hair anyway. Alright, so I saw what color I used before. I'm going to go back to that. Get the, I do want it to be similar to the one I've done a drawing of Max before, and thought, honestly, out of all the ones that I've done, he has the most character in his face. So that's why I chose him to do this tutorial. I figured it's the easiest one to sit here and kind of show off how eyes are supposed to look and do the mouth. And everybody's going to be different. Again, that's just part of doing these, but you can see, got it trimmed out there. I got to cut out all the hair. Alright, so now you can see as we back out, he has the hair, eyebrows, mustache are all the same color, and I want to add a little bit of a shadow in it. Again, it kind of goes with the realism look, the way that I like to do it. And as you can see, now there you have it. But in the hair, we need some lines just so that it gives it some little bit of definition. Again, I'm not gonna go for complete realism, but you want something there. There, bam. Now you can see we've got more detail. The skin tone looks pretty good. We need to color in the headphones. Now this part's gonna be easy because we're gonna go, I guess behind. This is where you see the hair layer. I want to make a layer underneath that. We're gonna go with kind of a dark gray. You have to, just because you want it to separate from his hair. Let's see what it looks like underneath the shirt, because we need a line. You can kind of tell here. I'm gonna use this. You want more lines on the shirts just so that it's not this plain solid blob. So we're gonna take this line, I think, and just kind of go here, curve it in a little bit there, and it's enough to see. Alright, so we've got lines there. If you want to do one line, I don't recommend doing all of these lines, just because again it can start to look kind of cluttered, and you do want to keep it at least as much as possible as clean as you can. So there you go. Maybe we finish this line coming through a shirt, because it kind of connects with this one, so it at least has a flow going to it. Let's see what the shirt looks like now. Another thing that I highly recommend, and it brings out your characters more, is I'm going to take this box, as you can see here, go to image, and then crop. And so now you have it cropped in on them fairly close. That what this will allow you to do is go at the very bottom where the background layer is, create a completely different layer, and then color it any color you want. Any color. So we're going to go with green, as you can see here. Now, one of the coolest things, and just immediately makes it look like a clean portrait, is you go in, you double click on that layer that you just colored in. You go to gradient overlay, and then click on it again, and you want to change it to radial. And then you want to reverse it, and then you can scale it out some here, and then bam. It looks like you have a Sears portrait right there, already done. It's very clean. You can tell who it is. We could have gone through, and if we were going to put more detail into it, or if I was going to spend a lot longer, we've already spent a ton of time on this one. You can put in some features here and there to make it pop, give it a little bit more realism. He had kind of, I think, this on his forehead, and it just adds a little bit of definition. And if you want, again, go back to that back layer, because you want it to work underneath the image that you're working on, and let's pick a text. There may be no point in doing this altogether, but we're gonna do it anyway, and we're just gonna put gassy. Well, we'll go ahead and put Mexican right there. We'll put it here. I probably would have, you know what, no, we're going to just put gassy, so that we can make it huge and kind of go behind his head. That works. And you can change the font. Most of the time white stands out on whatever you're working on. Tons of fonts to choose from. We'll keep it, for some reason we'll just go with a Star Wars font. Anyway, this is one of them. If you want to see the other one that I finished, this is the actual one that I did before. You can see a little more definition in the face. I took the skin color before and did the burn tool. If you go along the edges and use the burn tool, it adds some more of a shade and a natural color to it. But again, I just wanted this to be a quick tutorial, show you guys how to do a caricature, an avatar for your YouTube channel or whatever else. And here it is. This is Gassy Mexican. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for staying along, and as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.